All right, I thought you'd enjoy the lab coat because it represents sort of what we're trying to do here, which is give you an understanding of the process that we use. Now, this may look very complicated, but it's actually very thought out, and it's a Facebook selling model, and it engages all of the aspects of what we build in a general funnel model. So let's go through this real quick. I'm going to spend just about 5 minutes on this. It will give you all of the information that you'll need on how our patient acquisition techniques are built and why it's important to think through this model of the patient journey from interest to trust to then moving into an appointment and then a procedure. In Facebook, you've got about, in general, when you go out to market, you've got thousands of people you can hit in a geographic or demographic area. So you can pick a target geographically, you can pick a demographic, that's obviously a type of income, and then you can pick an interest, or they have actually people who might have back pain, for example, in their profile. Even though it's not an interest, it's more of a profile setting that you can find by the data that Facebook has collected. But it really comes down to interest, right? So it doesn't really matter, again, the demographics and so forth. It comes down to whether or not they're a procedure candidate. I've even done scoliosis as a procedure, done it in a regional format. So there's a background that's built. So these thousands of people, and you can do tens of thousands, you 10x that to tens of thousands of people in a region. You can have a ad come in their feed. So the Facebook ad is usually a blog or a piece of content that relates to the topic. And then we're hitting a cold list of people who have never been approached before by the practice. Now, again, 1 to 3% of most people are ready to have a discussion or be engaged in a procedure discussion. So what we want to do is we want to build an audience of people who have clicked this particular ad. This audience is what your core first initial impression is going to be. So you need to build this up, and the cost of this audience from a perspective of size to market to is based off of how many people you put in that bucket. So we want to keep continually putting posts out and continually building people who click these posts, and that's your audience that you're building who have interest in the procedure. We then retarget them with a video, either a testimonial or another piece of value content. It could be a procedure discussion. And then we're going to try and capture their email right on that post. So we're going to say, click here if you're interested, and we can give them a guide or a link to another video or to a case study. Again, we can go into subcategories. So let's say it's scoliosis. We can go into, is it pediatric? Is it deformity? And we can actually get the specific bucketed list and increase their percentage of conversion by even getting a further decision-making criteria based off of what guide they pushed in. So then we're going to be building an audience. Again, we can go back to this this audience of even further qualifying the candidate in this particular case. When we get their email, we're taking them to a landing page on the website, or we're taking them to an internal page in Facebook. If we take them to your website, we're going to launch a retargeting campaign from Google. So as soon as they hit your website, you can cookie their browser, which allows you to follow them around the internet with ads for the practice, which is a great percentage increaser for conversion. If it's in Facebook, we can then link it to, again, your email system. And we use ActiveCampaign in our strategy, which is an email tool. This allows you to further engage them with email. And this is the key and the magic, and that's where it all happens. Once we get the email, we can then retarget them with a series of emails that run over the next couple of days and into the next week with a appointment request solution within the email. So they get the email, it talks about the particular case or the procedure, and then we want to get them into an appointment right there if we can. We also give them the option to go to either a webinar or a pain assessment tool. So we can bring them to a pain assessment tool, which allows them to click on a link and then start to diagnose their own pain. And it's an automated system, again, to get the appointment request. At the end of the pain assessment tool, there's a request for an appointment. And if you're bold enough to do the webinar, which really is the conversion point, we can bring them to a video talking about the procedure, which gives them further information, gives them another 20 minutes of dialogue around the procedure. And then we hit them with a series of emails as well. Once this is sort of a stage 2 where we can get them to the next level of building an audience. People have actually opted in for a webinar or have opted in to go to the pain assessment or opted in to go to the appointment generator. We actually tag them as another layer, so they're kind of at a stage 2. They've trusted the practice at this point, but we've got them now to take the next level of trust. So we're sending emails from this webinar, which could be, again, the procedure, and sending a bunch of reminder emails to talk about when to remind them when the webinar is. And the thank you page after the webinar is the real key. Once they click on, hey, I want to watch this discussion around this procedure, we then take them to a thank you page and we ask them again for the appointment. And most people we find will click on an appointment button generator right at the base of a video of the thank you page because they're really at the stage of sort of like stage 5. They are ready to go. If they're willing to watch a video about your procedure, the thank you page has that appointment generation machine right there, and that's where you really start to win more patients because they're most of them are just more curious about really trying to get the procedure in their mind, and if you can shortcut it by getting the appointment right there, that's a time saver for them. So this is the patient acquisition model. We call it PAT, or patient acquisition techniques, and hopefully this will help you understand a little bit more about the Facebook model. The Google model works in a similar way where we do the Google ads. We're just going to different pieces of this model depending on where they are in the patient journey. And it works the same with somewhat with Instagram. And with Twitter, we're doing listening. So that's another piece of the puzzle that helps drive all of this traffic into appointments. All right, I hope that helps.